Hey guys, welcome to another session of Epic 7. We're going to talk about my initial thoughts for Mui. I'm going to pronounce it Mui. I tried Moi and Mui. It sounds weird, but I wanted the two-syllable Mui. She is a 5-star warrior, Earth Virgo, which is Jay Kisei's stats. If you take a look at it, it's actually very, very good, especially that you may want to prefer running her as a debuffer. Very solid stat to start out with. 5,300. Is higher than most mages. Speed is a 115. It's insanely fast. Again, we're comparing to like Bazaar or something like that. 27 crit rate, even if you want to make her as a DPS, and I am pretty sure that her damage mods are actually pretty good. I'll get to that in a bit. But defense is at 617 as well. Very, very good start. And then 18% effectiveness to boot, so it's like very packed. And then let alone not just the stats, but look at the imprints as well. Imprint releases a critical hit chance 14.4%, just like any 5-star release crit chance imprints. 14.4 is really good if you want to build her as this kind of like debuffer. Again, like I said, 115 speed is no joke. You can get her pretty fast. I did a rough build with one of my friend Emblem in Discord DM. I showed you what kind of like speed I could get her to, like with relative ease. I think it was like 284 speed with like, you know, really good effectiveness with tanky stats. So her base stats are incredible. The imprint concentration is at a dual attack chance of 6% as well. I think this shares the same as like Fire Tenebria, which is very good. I think Fire Tenebria's releases attack, if I remember correctly, and so it was a dual attack chance as well. Actually, I don't remember. But regardless, I think she has a dual attack on the the self imprint, which is very crazy if you think about how Tenebria works. And I think she will have the same effect too. So it's kind of like, it's super baity. Her imprint concentration and her release are good, regardless how you want to build. And like I said, I do think that her damage mods may, at the point of this recording, the data mine is not out yet, but probably will be maybe an hour after this video. I'm pretty sure it'll be pretty good. We actually see really high damage mods on what we predominantly call just debuffers. So Fire Tenebria has really high base attack, really good damage mods. Bazaar actually has really insane damage mods. If you actually built him as a DPS, he can be really crazy. Dizzy as well. Usually people don't build them as DPS, but we have seen some big brain. So I mean, I think she can fill that role as well. If you want to use her as this kind of strip cleave for setup, I don't know. We're gonna see some amazing stuff if people pull for her and content creators like invest in her. I think we're gonna see some amazing synergy, because I think she has what it takes. The S3 in and of itself is a really good starter hero. One, if you want to build her fast with high effectiveness, you can dispel up to 2 buffs. So immunity and barrier are probably the most common 2 buffs. You could just dispel it completely and then grant increased attack to all allies. This is also an attacking skill, so it has pros and cons, but just thinking right off the top of my head, like heroes like Celine really like taking advantage of attack buffers that don't actually attack, since Celine's passive goes off when it's a non-attack skill. So i.e. DN made Chloe, like Vivian or stuff like that, but hers is an attack, which I actually really like, because I think the last main attack buffer to me that had it embedded with an attack was Charles, and we all know how that works. That's pretty good to set up for like thieves on Aliha's knife, so i.e. Kayron. Yeah, I mean, but you can dispel the buff too, so that's just amazing for any follow-up setup as well. Any AoE death breakers, single target, or whatever, what so have you. It's pretty good. Another aspect to her, I think, is that she'll be pretty strong in RTA, just because I think maybe it depends on where you are in RTA. What I'm seeing right now, at least in Legend, people are playing with like a stall bruisery comp, which is totally different with like high effect resistance and stuff. It's pretty crazy up there. But I would say like challenger champion, people still struggle with like double pick debuffers or double pick stripper. So i.e. like Basar and Alencia combo, and it's like, okay, which one do I take out? Let's say, for example, the opponent has a Mei Chloe, you pick like a Basar or an Alencia. They kind of stuck. She can fulfill that role in case someone like pre-bans Basar and steals your Alencia or whatever. And again, it's very solid since it comes packed with the S3. It is a 5-turn cooldown, although I just realized that they had a spelling error there. But the 1-turn cooldown there, it's a 4-turn. It's very solid for any S3 debuff and dispel. It's not too long. It's not too short. This is part of a screenshot of her S3. Her character design, I have to comment on it. It doesn't really get me. I was saying this to the stream chat before I started the recording. She reminds me of kind of like a Tamarine, but maybe like a hotter version. But it still doesn't really do it for me. She's too weird. not a real waifu for me. But the S2 also very good. It is 4 turns. It does not have a cooldown on the Mola. Up to 15% extra additional effect chances if you get it to +3. So that's actually very, very cheap. All right. A lot of the +15 extra effect heroes usually have the extra 10% effect chance on the +4. I noticed that Basar only needs +3, +3, +3 if you really want to max Mola. I'm putting air quotes, max Mola him for his use. And I really do appreciate that. You don't have to go all the way to the +4 like Alencia, for example. Yeah, so attacks all enemies up to 50% chance to do bleeding for two bleeding for 2 turns. So 2 ticks of bleed for 2 turns. And then another up to 80% chance to stun for 1 turn. This is again AoE. So very, very, very powerful crowd control and extra damage. And I was just asking the stream chat as well. It's just like who benefits from more debuffs? Like who does more damage with more debuffs on them? And you know, like Cigarette comes to mind, and people remind me of that Spectenny as well. So it could be a really good Spectenny setup too. And Spectenny is pretty good in RTA, like very good actually. And then the S1, this is where I think the dual attack self-imprint comes in handy. 65% chance to inflict a random debuff for 1 turn. And then the random debuff is silence, defense break, decreased attack, and unhealable, all of which is very, very good, especially again if you're going with the debuffer route. +3, you get an extra 10, so 75% on the S1. And if you soul burn it only 10 souls, it grants the effect for 100%, and the random debuff is for 2 turns. So works kind of like Alencia's S1. Overall, I think she's good. The only problem is that at her release right now, unless you're missing a role where you need like a strip and like debuff, you probably most likely won't be pulling for her, just because we're kind of in this kind of like awkward stage where we don't know what Smaug has in mind in terms of limited banners coming. For those who, you know, tried their best to pull for SSB and her artifact, Rengar Specialty Drink, which some people missed completely. They know how broken it is, and I've heard people like pity all the way to triple SSB without 1 artifact. That's pretty salty. And for those people, I really do feel really bad for you. That kind of luck just really sucks. No one wants to deal with that. So with that in mind, like, are we gonna get, like, is this kind of like a bait banner? So in terms of, I think for a hero, she's good. I think she's good. I think she'll be solid. Very good, solid stats. Imprint concentration, imprint release. They're all very useful. Her kit is extremely packed. And she has access to warrior artifacts. So, I mean, you could go Durandal, you can go El's Fist if you want to, like, lap more. And I think it does benefit her in some ways. But even her own artifact is kind of interesting as well. Again, depending on her damage mods, maybe you can make her as a speedy DPS as well with high effectiveness, which would be crazy with this artifact, of course. So at a max +30, it increases the caster's effectiveness to 50% at the start of the battle, 5% each time the caster attacks. I'm assuming dual attacks do lower the rate here, and then down to 25. So minimally, you have 25% effectiveness plus her 18 innate. That is incredible, actually. The only thing is that I think if anybody is pulling for this banner, I do think that if you miss her artifact, I don't think it's a big worry, because like I said, without her damage mods, we won't know how to build her. But right now, she could look like a really speedy debuffer. Now it'd be just more insane if she can pack in everything, since she gets the attack buff on her S3, so her S2, the bleed follow-up, can potentially do a lot of damage since she has an attack buff up. It's roll compression as well if you're drafting an RTA, because you have 2 in one go. You have a strip and you have an attack buffer and you have debuffer. So I think overall I'm pretty impressed with her. I just don't think that if you were pulling it for the banner, you should pull until you got an artifact. Again, not a limited one, so eventually in a powder shop, and she's not a limited hero, so eventually you might be able to pull her off some off covenants, and she'll probably have a return banner in mystic rotations. So it kind of sucks. It kind of sucks that she's in a point where, like, I don't think people can expend to pull for her. Maybe a couple, and if you guys do that, hopefully you guys do get lucky. I think that's pretty much it for my thoughts on her. That was a very, very quick one, and I'm gonna end for the video recording here. I'll most likely drop the data mine mods in the video description of this recording, so people aren't like, I usually do actually drop it into the description, and then people are just like in the comments, Jake, and their mod is this, but just if you're hearing this, yes, the mods I'll most likely post it on the description. Anyways, I'm gonna end this here. If you guys have Discord, check out the Discord server, follow me on Twitter, subscribe to YouTube if you haven't. As always, thank you guys for watching, and I will see you guys next time.